We know how important it is to really dig into your contact database in order to understand who your contacts are and how they interact with your organization. So, in this quick video, we'll cover some of the ways that you can look up the first-time donors that exist within your Keela account. Now, we can actually build this as a report or as a contact segment. Our reports tool is a little bit more built out for learning about those overall data trends. So that's where we're going to perform this specific segment and filtering. But you can also replicate this in the contacts tool as a segment itself. So let's start by creating a custom contacts report. And the reason we're creating a custom contacts report is because we want to look at the specific contact records that meet this criteria. And the great thing about this is that Keela actually has a designated filter for this purpose. So let's go ahead and name our report. And let's say we want to look at people who are first-time donors within 2021 and 2022. So the second step here is going to be applying our first gift filter. And this is actually nestled here under the contact tool. Now, our second option is determining which types of transactions we want to filter for. I can opt for donations and revenues, or each of them independently. For this purpose, I only want to look at donations. Now I get to indicate the date range that I want to look for these first gifts for. And if I'm using the last 2 calendar years, I'm going to go ahead and pull January 1st, and I'll put the end date as December 31st. And one thing to note about this is if I'm adding a future end date, this report is going to be self-updating. So if somebody makes a first gift, let's say next week, they'll be captured in this report as of next week. So now that our custom report has been created, this is where you can dive into that data further. So we have our own nifty training videos about how to interact with the overview tab, the data tab, and the calculations. But let's just input some widgets here so that we can look into it for this specific example. So the overview tab is where you can really learn more about the trends in your contact data. So in this case, maybe I want to look at the donation transactions over time. And Keela is going to automatically map this out for the contacts who are being pulled here. So I can see the average donation amount, the total amount, and the total number, as well as the total number of contacts that this comes from. Now I can actually interact with the contacts who meet this criteria here in the Data tab, and I can also export these contact records here as well. Last but not least, we also have our Calculations tab. And this is just one of the ways that you can use Keela to make those one-click calculations. So we'll see here, we have the total number of contacts. Now, as I mentioned, we can turn this report into a segment. And you can do that by clicking Actions and creating the segment from the report. Last but not least, always make sure that you save your report before you exit out of it. And now you've successfully created a first-time donors report.